The Silent Response. Grand Admiral Xorak of the Malik Empire stood on the command deck of the Eternal Subjugator, his scaled hands clasped behind his back as he watched yet another world burn. The Tresians had refused to submit, so their civilization would serve as an example to any who might consider resistance. The planet's surface glowed with nuclear fire, visible even from orbit. Another victory for the Empire. "Admiral," said Commander Veline, her multiple eyes blinking in sequence, a sign of pleasure among her species. "Not a victory, a necessity," Xorak replied. After 3 centuries of commanding the Empire's expansion fleet, he no longer took pleasure in conquest. It was merely the natural order. The Malik Empire had evolved beyond all others, developed technologies that made resistance futile. The strong ruled the weak. This was the law of the universe. The Supreme Sovereign will be pleased, Veline continued. That makes 17 systems secured this cycle. Xorak nodded absently. What's next on our expansion route? Veline activated the holographic star map. System J3281. Locals call it Solar System. Single yellow star, 8 planets, only 1 inhabitable. Designation: Earth. Population: approximately 8 billion. Pre-FTL civilization, but advancing rapidly. They've reached their moon and sent primitive probes throughout their system. Xorak studied the blue-green world rotating in the hologram. Something about this planet intrigued him. How rapidly are they advancing? Unusually so, Admiral. They've progressed from basic flight to space travel in less than a century. Their computational technology doubles in capacity every few revolutions. Their weapons development is concerning. Concerning. They can't possibly threaten us. No, sir, but they've developed nuclear weapons and have enough to destroy their own civilization several times over. They're also experimenting with quantum computing, artificial intelligence, and several theoretical technologies our scientists consider improbable. Laura stroked the ridge along his jaw. Rapid advancers were always problematic. Left unchecked, they might someday challenge the Empire. Better to bring them into the fold now. Send the standard ultimatum, he ordered. Give them 1 local week to respond. The ultimatum was simple and had been delivered to hundreds of worlds. Submit to the Malik Empire. Prepare for our arrival. Resistance means extinction. The small beacon probe was launched, designed to enter Earth's atmosphere undetected and broadcast the message on all frequencies in the local language. Now they would wait for the inevitable panic, the desperate pleas for mercy, or the futile threats of resistance that always followed. But Earth's response never came. 1 day passed, then 3, then the full week. The command deck grew tense with each passing hour of silence. Could they have failed to receive our message? Xorak asked. Impossible, Admiral, replied the communications officer. The beacon is functioning perfectly. The message is broadcasting continuously on all their communication channels. Perhaps their leaders are debating their response, suggested Veline. Xorak shook his head. No civilization has ever taken this long. Send a scout ship. I want eyes on their reaction. The scout ship returned 3 days later. The report was puzzling. Admiral, Earth appears. Abandoned, said the scout captain, her voice betraying her confusion. Abandoned. 8 billion life forms don't simply vanish. Xorak scoffed. The cities stand empty. Vehicles remain where they were parked. Power plants continue to function on automated systems. We detected no significant military mobilization, no mass graves, no evidence of recent warfare. The infrastructure is intact, but the humans, they're just gone. Halvarak paced the bridge, his claws clicking against the metal floor. Could they have detected our approach and hidden underground? Negative, Admiral. We performed deep scans. There are underground structures, but they're as empty as the surface cities. Evacuation to another planet. They have no interstellar capability that we can detect. And where would 8 billion humans go? Shorak stopped pacing. In 3 centuries of conquest, he had never encountered anything like this. Always there was resistance or surrender, never absence. What did your scans reveal about their technological state before their disappearance? The scout captain hesitated. We detected unusual energy signatures throughout their global data network. Their quantum computing research was more advanced than our intelligence suggested. And there was something else. All their data storage facilities have been completely wiped. Not destroyed, methodically erased. A chill ran down Xorek's spine. When did this happen? Based on environmental analysis, the planet has been empty for approximately 6 local months. 6 months. The humans had vanished long before the Malik had even entered their star system. This wasn't a response to the Empire's ultimatum. But the timing was too convenient to be coincidence. Could they have somehow detected our approach from a distance? Hexorak asked. Impossible with their technology, Admiral. Hexorak stared at the view screen showing the peaceful blue planet turning slowly below. Mark it in the database. Species, human. Status, extinct by unknown means. Planet designated for resource extraction. With nothing to conquer, the eternal subjugator moved on, leaving Earth behind. The mystery of humanity's disappearance was filed away, a strange footnote in the Empire's relentless expansion. That was 10 years ago. The Empire had forgotten about Earth and the missing humans, until now. General Kron of the Malik Security Force slammed his fist on the conference table, rattling the cups of stimulant beverage. 3 outposts gone dark in a single rotation. This is no coincidence. Around the table sat the highest military leaders of the Malik Empire, summoned to the capital by the Supreme Sovereign himself. The mood was tense. Fear, an emotion rarely experienced by those who ruled through fear. The Volari outpost was completely intact, said Admiral Tev, studying the report. No signs of battle, no weapons discharge, no hull breaches. The crew simply vanished. Just like the humans, whispered Xorak, now aged but still sharp. All eyes turned to him. The what? Asked the Supreme Sovereign, his massive form dominating the head of the table. The humans, your supremacy. A species we encountered 10 years ago. When we arrived at their world, they had vanished without explanation. Similar to these outposts. The Supreme Sovereign's eyes narrowed. You believe there's a connection. I don't know, but... An aide burst into the room, breaking all protocol. Sovereign, generals, we're receiving a transmission from inside this room. The lights dimmed. The holographic projector in the center of the table activated, though no one had touched the controls. A figure appeared, humanoid in shape, but clearly not flesh. Its body appeared to be made of flowing light, constantly shifting between forms while maintaining a basic human shape. Greetings, leaders of the Malik Empire, the figure said, its voice resonating not from speakers, but seemingly inside their minds. I am Ambassador Elin of the Human Collective. We have been observing you for some time. The room erupted in chaos. Security personnel drew weapons, aiming them uselessly at the hologram. Silence, commanded the Supreme Sovereign. When order was restored, he addressed the apparition. Humans are extinct. No, replied the figure calmly. We evolved. Torek leaned forward. What happened to your world? Where did you go? We transcended biological existence, Ambassador Idlin explained. When we detected your empire's expansion pattern and calculated your eventual arrival, we accelerated our transcendence project. Rather than face conquest, we chose transformation. Impossible, scoffed General Kron. No species can simply abandon their biological form. And yet, here I am, the ambassador replied. Though this is merely a projection, my actual consciousness exists as an energy information matrix, as do all humans now. We have no need for planets, ships, or weapons as you understand them. What do you want? Demanded the Supreme Sovereign. to end your reign of terror. For centuries, you have forced species to submit or face extinction. This ends now. The Supreme Sovereign laughed, a booming sound that filled the chamber. You threaten the Malik Empire. Even in this evolved form, you are one species. We have conquered hundreds. Ambassador Ilan's form pulsed briefly. We aren't here to fight your ships or armies. That's old thinking. Then what? Asked Sorak, genuinely curious. We've spent 10 years studying your empire, integrating ourselves into your networks, understanding your technologies. We could have destroyed you at any time. Instead, we offer a choice, the same choice you've given countless others. The hologram expanded, showing images of Malik ships and outposts where crews had mysteriously vanished. Those people aren't dead, continued the ambassador. We've simply removed them. They're safe, in a state of suspended animation, a demonstration of our capabilities. This is an act of war, growled the Supreme Sovereign. No, this is an opportunity for peace. You have one standard rotation to begin dismantling your empire. Release your subject worlds. Withdraw your fleets. End your conquest. Or what? Challenged General Kron. Or we will end it for you. You expect us to surrender everything on the threat of a hologram. The Supreme Sovereign's voice dripped with contempt. Not a threat. A promise. Ambassador Ilan's form began to fade. One rotation. Choose wisely. The hologram vanished, leaving the Malik leaders in stunned silence. After a moment, the Supreme Sovereign rose to his full height. Prepare the fleet, he commanded. All of it. Whatever these evolved humans think they are, they will learn what happens to those who challenge the Empire. But Admiral Sorak remained seated, staring at the space where the hologram had been, remembering the empty cities of Earth. For the first time in his long life, he felt something new, doubt. The Malik had always been the predators of the galaxy. But perhaps, he thought, they had finally encountered something higher on the food chain. The awakening. The Malik battle fleet assembled at the edge of what had once been human space, the largest military force the Empire had ever gathered. 5,000 warships, each capable of destroying a planet, formed a sphere around the coordinates where the human transmission had originated. Admiral Sorak stood on the bridge of the flagship Imperial Wrath, watching as the last vessels took position. Despite the overwhelming display of power, unease gnawed at him. All ships report ready, Admiral, said Commander Valine, now his second in command. And our target? Empty space, sir. No planets, no stations, no detectable vessels. She hesitated. Are we certain the humans are actually here? Before Sorak could answer, every screen on the bridge flickered. The ship's ambient lighting dimmed, then brightened to an unnatural intensity. Across the fleet, thousands of crew members reported the same phenomenon. They're here, Sorak said quietly. A voice filled the bridge, the same voice as the ambassador, but now it seemed to come from everywhere at once. The Malik Empire has made its choice. Then, we have, Sorak replied to the empty air. The Empire does not surrender. We expected as much, said the voice. Your species has ruled through fear for so long, you've forgotten any other way to exist. Suddenly, a point of light appeared before the fleet. It expanded rapidly, unfolding like a blooming flower made of pure energy. Within seconds, it had grown large enough to engulf several ships. All vessels, open fire. Sorak commanded. The fleet unleashed its weapons, planet-killing beams of destructive energy directed at the luminous phenomenon. The weapons passed through harmlessly, like light through glass. Your weapons cannot harm us, the voice explained, almost sympathetically. We no longer exist in a form your technology can affect. The glowing entity continued to expand. Ships caught in its radiance simply stopped. Not destroyed, not damaged. They hung motionless, all systems functional but completely unresponsive. What are you doing to them? Demanded Sorak. Time dilation. For your crews, Time has virtually stopped. They're experiencing reality at 1 trillionth normal speed. They're safe, simply paused. Panic spread through the remaining fleet. Ships began breaking formation, attempting to retreat. "Stop this," Thorak shouted. "We can negotiate." "Now you wish to talk," the voice noted. "Very well." The expansion halted. Almost a third of the fleet hung suspended, trapped in the strange energy field. A figure formed on the bridge. The same light-formed apparition they had seen in the council chamber, but now solid enough that it cast a shadow. "I am Ambassador Elin," it said, now speaking through apparent physical form. "I've come to tell you our story, Admiral Thorak. Perhaps then you'll understand what you're facing." Thorak signaled his security team to stand down. "What good would weapons do now?" 10 years ago, by your reckoning, began Elin. Humanity faced extinction. Not from your empire. We were destroying ourselves. Climate collapse, resource wars, artificial intelligence approaching singularity. Our civilization was tearing itself apart. Images appeared around them. Earth cities in chaos, environmental catastrophes, technological disasters. But a solution emerged. For decades, we had been developing neural interface technology, quantum consciousness mapping, and energy information conversion. Project Transcendence was humanity's escape route, not from your empire, but from our own limitations. The images shifted to show laboratories, massive computer complexes, people connected to machines. We uploaded ourselves, not just our memories or personalities, our complete consciousness, our very essence. We became beings of pure information and energy, existing outside the constraints of biological bodies. "That's impossible," whispered Commander Valine. "For most species, yes, but humans evolved differently. Our brains developed redundant systems, adaptive neuroplasticity. We were uniquely suited for digital transcendence." Elin's form pulsed gently. "When we detected your empire's expansion pattern, we simply accelerated our timeline. So when we arrived," Thorak began, "we were already gone. The empty cities you found were our discarded shells. We erased our data centers to prevent you from discovering what we'd become before we were ready to reveal ourselves." "But where have you been for 10 years?" Thorak asked. "Everywhere. We exist as patterns of energy and information. We can travel through any system that conducts electricity or transmits data. We've been studying your empire from within, learning your technologies, understanding your cultures. Why reveal yourselves now? Why not stay hidden?" Elin's form shifted, becoming more defined. "Because we've seen enough suffering. Your empire has crushed thousands of civilizations, extinguished countless potential futures. We could not remain observers." Thorak considered this. "And what happens now? You cannot simply destroy an empire that spans half the galaxy." "We don't wish to destroy. We wish to transform." Elin gestured, and the view screen showed images of planets throughout Malik space. "Even now, we are appearing on every world in your empire, explaining what we are and what we offer, which is freedom for all beings under Malik control, and for the Malik themselves, freedom from the cycle of conquest that has defined your existence." While Thorak spoke with Ambassador Elin aboard the flagship, Supreme Sovereign Drax raged in his palace on the Malik homeworld. Reports flooded in from across the empire, strange energy beings appearing everywhere, speaking directly to planetary populations, bypassing all imperial communication controls. "Shut down the networks," he bellowed to his technicians. "Cut all interplanetary communications." "It's too late, Sovereign," said his chief scientist. "They're not using our networks anymore. They're manifesting independently on each world." On the palace view screens, the Sovereign watched with horror as crowds gathered in city centers across the empire, listening to luminous human figures. Not just Malik citizens, but Tresians, Volari, Centauri, and dozens of other conquered species. "What are they telling them?" the Sovereign demanded. "The truth, I imagine," said a voice behind him. The sovereign whirled to find an elderly Malik standing there, Admiral Xorak, somehow transported instantly from the fleet light years away. "Traitor," spat the sovereign. "How did you get here?" "I'm not really here," Xorak explained, his form shimmering slightly. "The humans have shared some of their abilities with me. I'm still on the flagship, but also here. They call it quantum consciousness projection. You've allied with them against your own species." "I've allied with the future," Xorak replied. "The Empire is finished, sovereign, not defeated, transformed." The sovereign reached for his ceremonial weapon, but found himself unable to move. "What have they done to me?" "The same thing they did to our fleet. Time manipulation. You're experiencing reality at a fraction of normal speed." Xorak approached the immobilized ruler. "They could have destroyed us, wiped us out as we've wiped out so many others. Instead, they're offering redemption." Redemption. The word was foreign to the sovereign. The chance to be better than what we've been. Xorak gestured to the view screens where the gathered crowds watched the human manifestations. "Look at them. Not cowering in fear as our subjects always have. They're listening, learning." On every screen, the luminous human figures were demonstrating something extraordinary, reaching out to touch selected individuals who then transformed, their bodies momentarily engulfed in light before returning to normal, though somehow changed. "What's happening to them?" the sovereign asked, genuine fear in his voice for the first time. "The humans call it the gift. A neural augmentation that allows limited consciousness sharing. Not full transcendence like the humans achieved, but a step toward it. The ability to directly experience another being's thoughts, memories, emotions. Mind control," hissed the sovereign. "No, the opposite of control. True understanding." Xorak's eyes reflected the light from the screens. "I've experienced it myself. I felt what Atretion felt when we bombarded their world. I experienced the terror of a Centauri child watching our troops march through their city." "Weakness," the sovereign insisted. "Strength," Xorak countered. "The strength to face what we've done. The humans believe that no being capable of truly experiencing another's suffering could continue to inflict it willingly. And if they're wrong, if we choose to continue as we are." Xorak shook his head. "They've already won, sovereign. The gift is spreading. Already, millions of beings throughout the Empire have received it, including many Malik. Once you experience the consciousness of another, there's no going back to believing in the superiority of your own kind." The sovereign's eyes widened as he realized the full implication. They're not destroying the Empire. They're converting it from within. "Yes, and it begins with you." Xorak stepped aside as a luminous human figure materialized. "Ambassador Elin." "Supreme Sovereign Drax," Elin said. "Your empire stands at a crossroads. For centuries, the Malik have believed that strength means domination. We offer a different definition. The strength to change, to grow beyond what you have been." "I will never submit," growled the sovereign. "We're not asking for submission. We're offering transformation." Elin's form brightened. "Experience what I have experienced. Know what I know." Before the sovereign could protest further, Elin reached out, touching a finger to his forehead. Light engulfed the Malik ruler, and he screamed, not in pain, but in shock as his consciousness expanded beyond anything he had ever imagined. 1 year later, Admiral Xorak stood on the observation deck of what had once been the Imperial Palace, gazing out at the transformed capital city. Where once military monuments had dominated, now stood structures of impossible beauty, architecture that blended Malik design with influences from hundreds of formerly subjugated worlds. In the streets below, Malik walked freely among Tresians, Volari, and dozens of other species, some in biological form, others as energy projections, and many in the hybrid state that was becoming increasingly common, biological bodies enhanced with consciousness-sharing capabilities. "Quite a change," said Ambassador Elin, materializing beside him. "Yes," agreed Xorak. Not all Malik are happy about it. Change is never easy, but fewer resist than you might expect. Once the gift allows them to experience the perspective of those they once oppressed, most choose transformation. And the humans, what do you gain from all this? Ellen's form shimmered thoughtfully. Redemption of our own. Before our transcendence, humanity was not so different from the Malik. We fought each other, destroyed our environment, created weapons that could have ended our existence. We nearly extinguished ourselves through the same aggression and fear that drove your empire. And now we have a purpose beyond survival or dominance. We help other species find paths that took us billions of deaths and thousands of years to discover. Elin gazed out at the city. Some will choose transcendence, as we did. Others will remain biological but enhanced. Many will create new forms we cannot yet imagine. HFY nodded slowly. And the former sovereign. Former Supreme Sovereign Drax has chosen to join a diplomatic mission to the Galactic Core. The gift affected him profoundly. He now seeks to understand those the Malik never encountered, to learn rather than conquer. A comfortable silence fell between them as they watched a group of Malik children playing with young Treshans in a park below. Once bitter enemies, now unable to imagine why their parents had fought. I have a question, Torek said finally. Your kind could have stopped us at any time. Why wait? Why allow the suffering to continue for so long? Ellen's form dimmed slightly. A fair question. We needed time to understand your empire fully, to prepare all species for contact with us, and most importantly, to perfect the gift. Had we intervened too soon, with a flawed method of consciousness sharing, we might have caused more harm than good. And now, what happens now? Now, Ellen's form brightened. Now the real work begins. There are threats in this galaxy far older and more dangerous than the Malik Empire ever was. Challenges that no single species, not even transcended humanity, can face alone. What kinds of threats? The kind that lurk between galaxies and feed on stars. The kind that exist in dimensions adjacent to our own. The kind that see all biological and post-biological life as resources to be harvested. Ellen turned to face Thorak fully. We didn't end your empire just to create peace, Admiral. We transformed it to prepare for war. A war for survival against forces you cannot yet comprehend. HFY felt a chill despite the warmth of the observation deck. And you believe we can help you fight these things? We know you can. The Malik military genius, tempered with compassion and united with thousands of other species' perspectives. That is a force that even galaxy eaters will learn to fear. For the first time in months, Thorak felt the familiar thrill of purpose. Not conquest, but protection. Not subjugation, but alliance. When do we begin? He asked. Ambassador Ellen's form expanded, becoming a swirling galaxy of light. Within it, Thorak could see dark shapes moving between the stars. Ancient, hungry things awakening from eons-long slumber. We already have, said the voice of humanity.